We're glad today to hold this interview with the director, Jonnie Semerad, and it's an honor for us. Tell us more about yourself, please, about your past in the cinematic world, and how did you come up with the idea to connect your life with this?
Okay, it's so I grew up upstate New York, typical, I was on the football team, captain of the wrestling team, normal everyday kid, and then I wanted art school to become the next American illustrator, the next traditional painter. And that was about the time that computers were coming out, home computers and stuff. And part of my internship at my art school was I had to get an internship, a job someplace, and I showed up at a computer company that was so busy that day they would have hired anyone who walked through the door, and it just happened to be me. So I stayed there for like 10 years, and the the industry changed, and after about 10 years, I was able to start my own company. The traditional hands-on craft of painting and stuff has evolved into computers, and so somebody told me it's 2004. If you have a story to tell, make a movie. And that was a while ago. And so I stayed in this business. It's evolved. It's AI is now taking over, and we do mostly commercials, TV commercials, and that type of thing. And that business has also evolved a lot to where it's becoming social and things like that. And I'd always done like this much paying work and this much of my own work, and that's kind of the life of the independent filmmaker. And now, because of the AI, our animation is we're able to do so much more of it that we've started our own YouTube page, trying to find our audience. And it's I have a desire to make a movie, to do features and things like that, but YouTube and the internet and things like that are where our audience is right now. And so that's kind of what we're pursuing. So we started our page. It's called Deep Space Degenerates. It's a animated sci-fi comedy. We put about a minute out a week, and then every month we put out about a 5 minute, depending on how the story goes. And that's what we're doing now. And that's kind of where is my audience going to be in 2 years?
Well, thank you for this story, for your sharing your past. And if we're talking about the film, can you tell us, please, about the work that you are submitted to our festival?
Which was the one that we submitted to your festival? Do you know which one it was? Was it Stuck at the Spaceport?
Yeah, can you tell us about that project?
Okay, so we did, yeah. So we've been submitting. So we had always, back in the day, it took us like 8 years to do a short, and then it took like 6 years, and then it took like 6 months, and it got shorter and shorter time periods. And the one that we've been submitting now is called Stuck at the Spaceport. and and this is part of us trying to, because we've been in like tons of festivals, and that's kind of like our home, so we want to keep being part of that world. So um the idea that I had was to create this world where when you look at like Star Trek and NASA, they send the best of the best out into space. But when you really look at like, the conquistadors and the explorers, they really, like Columbus's voyage to the United States, his third voyage was all prisoners on death row, it was either die or ship out. So it wasn't the best of the best. And so that's kind of how I see the future, where, people are out exploiting space and not exploring space. And that was kind of the crux of the idea. And in that world, we can create, we can go on forever, it seems. And sci-fi and comedy are both areas that allow for a lot of exploration, and creative ideas, expressing them. They're metaphorical for that. So we did Stuck at the Spaceport, which is a 5 minute little contained story of this girl's first day on the job, where she shows up, and it's a little contained story in this whole universe. And that's like us trying to find our audience, put out stories on YouTube, put out a 5 minute story for film festivals, and try to tell these stories in ways that are attracting people.
What was the initial trigger for the story?
The original, excuse me.
What was the initial trigger for the story?
Oh, it was for me. It was the you know, what I wanted to do something that I wanted to watch, and rather than do something like of about when you're watching NASA and Star Trek and things like that, you're seeing the best of the best go out. And I was kind of like, but that's not really who we are. We really, in past exploration has been about exploiting and selling weapons and starting wars and things like that. And so I kind of wanted to make commentary on that, but do it in a way that wasn't preachy and wasn't, um, talking down to people, but in an engaging way using science fiction and comedy, which when you think of some of the best science fiction movies, like Planet of the Apes the book was initially about society. The first movie was about nuclear war, and it's kind of evolved. And it's like, your people go watch Talking Monkeys, but they're getting an anti-war message.
Thank you. And if we're talking about your inspiration, maybe there are any films or directors that influenced your approach?
Oh, tons of people tell me I watch too much anime, but I don't think there's any such thing as watching too much anime. So I watch a lot of anime, and as a still frame, this uh, it doesn't look like anime in a still frame. It looks more like stop motion, but a lot of the humor and a lot of the characters and stuff have a lot of anime influences. Ghibli is one of my, I always want, my dream is to become the American Ghibli. And the writing is based upon a lot of, not based, but like inspired by Douglas Adams, his Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, the escalators would only go into the basement because like what was the point of going up and down all day and things like that I just thought I found a unique take on it.
And how did you find your main character?
So every character I that's in it is somebody like that it may not be you, but it's somebody you know. And the so I'm trying to get every character to have like a um an empathy, a connection with every character. Like the captain of the ship is kind of like a jerk, and we've all had a boss who's been a jerk. And the main character's name is Lore, and she's a young lady's first day on her job. Her species is based upon the snow fox, and so it's like we've all had the first day of the job. We've all gone to college and or something. We've all had that experience where it's our first day someplace and we don't know if we made a mistake by doing this or not. And that's exactly where she comes from. Is she had her life with her family and now this is her first day of her grand adventure, we call it. And it's kind of like we've all kind of been there. We all kind of know that, even, in different ways, we can kind of connect with that.
Is there something you discover about yourself while making this project?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird. The whole independent filmmaking process is much different from when you're getting paid. In that you kind of even though we do still do a lot of paying work and we're very professional and we try very hard. It's like when you wake up in the morning, this is what you think about. You think about your own projects and things like that. The one thing that I kind of found out about myself a little bit, I guess I would say, is that when you're writing for a character or building a character, you want to put some of yourself into it. And sometimes you want to put like bad parts of yourself. Some of these characters are selfish and some of these characters, do have, addiction problems and are, out for themselves. And some of them aren't, and some of them show kindness and some of them aren't. So it's kind of like you kind of have to, it's that saying, don't love the rose if you don't love the thorn. And it's kind of like, you have to examine the good parts of you and the bad parts of you.
No, I love this phrase. Thank you. And how? Can you, how would you describe your film in three words?
In 3 words,
Mhm.
it's well, when I talk to filmmakers, I would say it's an animated sci-fi comedy. When I talk on YouTube, it's a funny space comic,
Ah,
because YouTube has to be that way. But it's basically it's an ex it's we're trying to explore the circumstantial family, I guess, is circumstantial family and home, and that's and what I mean by circumstantial family and home is like your family from your circumstances, the family that you choose, your coworkers. Often you spend more time with them than you do with your family, so it's really about more about like family and home than anything else.
and what do you hope audiences will take away from this film?
So what we're trying to do is kind of disguise some of our ideas as we evolve it into this longer format stuff. We're trying to disguise our ideas about corporations, about exploration, about how we treat each other, but we're trying to do it with humor in a way that like people laugh and then like, oh, I just learned something by mistake, and not trying to make it like you know um heavy drama or anything like that, but we're trying to deal with heavy issues, but in a way that would encourage people to think about them and also find them funny.
And which scene are you most proud of in the film and why?
Um, uh, w- um, I'm trying to think which one of the scenes that I really kind of like is how is when Lore is looking at the solar board, the board with the big schedule up there, and she's looking at it, and it's kind of she's kind of like, I hope they show up, and it was very in some ways it was an emotional moment that I kind of felt like really expressed like who she was. She was trying to walk around the spaceport confidently and be the boss and stuff, but deep down she was like a little nervous about it, and so I was kind of glad that we could get that expression out of animation.
Thank you for this conversation, and I'm really looking to see this bossy main character on our big screens. And thank you for your time and sharing your insights with us.
Okay, thank you, and good luck with the power and everything, and it all goes.
Thank you. Have a nice evening, I would say, but I will have a 7 hours difference, so have a nice day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.